Hello, everyone. Today, I just wanted to get on to talk a little bit about autistic burnout and essentially like my experience with it, like first learning about it and then going through it. So situations that I actually had happen. Um, I've actually gone through like many stressful situations in life, and I didn't know like what autistic burnout was until about like 2 years ago, 2023. Like what actually led to it was, so I would also like often find myself like pushing myself like beyond like certain boundaries because like I would have to either complete something or I would have to like just find a way to work through situations, not knowing like the true damage of what it's doing, and like what it could potentially lead to. So going back to 2023, the thing about like being on the spectrum is you're so accustomed to routine, you're so accustomed to structure. There was a lot of changes that suddenly happened. And like the first change was like the change in employment. So I was working for a particular company, and like without notice, they had told me that like, hey, like we're gonna be moving you to a different location. And internally, like I was like anxious and like really like just like falling apart because it was like, so I was accustomed to the routine, I was accustomed to the structure, and then suddenly it was like, hey, like we're gonna need to move you. So that was one aspect that immediately like caused internal panic, internal anxiety. Then the second part was the end of the relationship that I had actually addressed in the other videos as well. So when you combine both of those elements, it led to like my first episode of experiencing autistic burnout, because like autistic burnout is triggered by just like extreme like overload. So it's just like it's changed like all at once. So you had the end of the relationship, and then you had like a complete change in the employment. So like you're going to a different company. I mean, excuse me, not a different company, but going to a different store. So now it's a situation where like you don't have time to adjust to one situation. You're now dealing with multiple different situations that just suddenly happen, and that led to the burnout. Now, explaining like how I dealt with the burnout, it was complete shutdown. So when you are experiencing the burnout, some of the things that you'll go through are like your executive function. So basically, all the symptoms that you would experience, they become magnified. Like when you're in burnout. So if there's things that you struggle with, like more often than not, like when you are experiencing this burnout, there's no way to there's no way to lessen like those symptoms. And that's something that I greatly dealt with. Like I actually had to take during that window, I had to take a 2 week leave from work because of the gravity of how like I was dealing with it. It was extremely hard. Um, like during that window, it was you couldn't function like at like on a regular level because of how stressful things were. Like it didn't feel like, so you had structure one day, and then everything was like completely shattered and gone the next day. So ultimately, like it takes time to come out of something like that. It takes like working through stuff, getting back into somewhat of a routine. Because ultimately, like what somewhat fixed it for me was I was able to discuss that with the store manager, and I was able to go back to that location. And that's what helped me somewhat pull out of that, because of, I was, yeah, when you're in that, it's a, it's a very difficult spot to be in. And yeah, it's, like I said, when you're experiencing those symptoms, because you're the executive functioning, so basically everything that you would do on a daily basis, it just becomes magnified and harder. Like, and like going through that, it was really eye-opening for me, because like I said, there's many situations that I've experienced before, but like when I was first going through that, not knowing that label until like later on, like I knew like what I was feeling, but I couldn't exactly describe it. Like I just knew that like all the change in the situations was like very overwhelming and overstimulating. But that then to put that title with it of autistic burnout, it really was eye-opening for me and helped me to be able to better process like everything as it was actually happening.